Good to see everyone this morning. What I've decided to let my subject be today is me. And of course, I'm calling this the essence of spiritual living. Now, why would I be the subject of the essence of spiritual living? Well, I'm 67 years old. I've been on this path for a ways. I've learned some things, and there's a thing that came to me from my sharing last week. The idea that if you're using a mental equivalent to create an image of the thing that you desire in your life, that's very powerful. But to achieve that, to have that in your life, you have to have an equal sense of who you are and that you're up to having that in your life. I think too often we yearn for something that we don't think we're good enough for, or we don't think we're smart enough for, or educated enough for, and then we discount it, and it doesn't ever happen. So our sense of ourselves is essential, and of course, in the science of mind, the whole focus of at least the first two steps of treatment are to get you to a place to understand that that which is the creator of all is at the point of view. And to get there takes some work. I didn't get it when I was growing up. I grew up in a family that where my parents sent us and my siblings to a Southern Baptist church on Sunday morning. And we were very faithful to that. We did our best to be sinners. They said we were, and that we couldn't get around that. So, there was I left the church because they told me that the woman that I was related to, who had been married before, but this is by the time I was in my late teens, that I would be going to hell. Even if I had been saved, I would still be going to hell if I dated her. And I said, okay, that's enough. And so I left, and I moved to Houston. Actually, I followed her to Houston. And got a pretty decent job. I worked for a big oil field equipment manufacturer, and Houston's a big town, was even back then, and I did something at the age of 20, 21 that I'd never done. I went to a public seminar, and I paid a ton of money. I'm sure I paid, probably $99 to go to this thing. The topic of the seminar was time management. That was the name of it. And of course, we got a big folder, big ring binder with all kind of stuff in it. I kept that for years, but there were two things that really happened that day that stayed with me. One was that the facilitator talked about having a purpose. And I didn't have a purpose. I didn't know why I was here. I was just trying to be as comfortable in my life as I could and to acquire as much stuff as I could. And this idea of purpose was new to me, but I was fascinated. So during a break after he shared his purpose, I went up and I looked in his book. And I read his again, and I tried to make some notes, and I took those notes with me, and I tried to create a purpose statement for myself out of that, but it never really rang true. And then I remember a few years later, I saw Robert Schuller on television. And he told, on a Sunday morning, he told everyone what his purpose statement was. And it was brilliant. It was about creating something out of nothing. And it was like, oh, that's amazing. So I tried to adopt that and adapt that to me. Didn't work. And then one day, I don't know what day it was. I don't know what did it. But it just like that popped in me. And I knew exactly what my reason for being here was. And not that I haven't modified it slightly since then, but it was something very, very similar to this. My purpose is to reveal and release the power of divine presence wherever I am and in whatever I do. And interestingly, since that two-sentence statement came to me, I really don't have to read it anymore. Before that, if somebody said, what's your purpose? I go, hold on, I'll go get it. And where I would go is to this book that I carried. And that was the other thing that I got from that seminar. He was kind of representing a thing called daytimers. And this was way before computers or smartphones or anything to the liking. This was 40-something years ago. And so I did. I got the biggest daytimer there was. It was full sheets it was a binder, and you had all these pockets in it. It was very cool. And I lived out of this thing and walked around all the time with my big binder. And over the years, I realized how encumbered I was by this thing, so I got a smaller one. And the smaller size lasted me again for years, and I carried it everywhere, and I lost it regularly. But it always seemed to come back to me. It was quite amazing. I actually left it on a one of those boats that goes across Sydney Harbor when I lived in Sydney. I left it on the boat, and I spent from the time I realized it was gone until I actually got it back, and I did get it back. I did affirmations the whole time, not really knowing what I was doing, but declaring I was going to get that thing back, and I did. Last summer, while Barbara and I were at the beach, someone broke into our rental vehicle, and I had left what I called my book. And by then, it had gotten to a place where it had all my credit cards, it had all of my identification, it had cash, it had everything in it, to the point where people would actually look at it and go, boy, it's a mess if you lose that thing, isn't it? Anyway, it was gone. And in figuring out what my next step was, I decided not to go with that. I wanted something smaller. So I have now a pouch that's about this big. And it again has my phone and my credit cards and my cash and everything that I would need to have at any particular moment. It's right in this little pouch. And I've managed to hold on to that pretty well since then. But what got left out of it was the page that had that statement on it, which was on the front page. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was the second page. I had an identification page with numbers and dates and things on the front. But the next page was that statement. And I would see it pretty regularly. So this week, I'm in my computer, and I came across the file that had this in it. And I realized through all of this that's been going on in my life, I didn't have this to remind me. Now, I knew what the statement was, but there's something about reading it on a regular basis, even though you know it, that helps you know who you are. At least that's true for me. So I have always in classes, especially in our summer prosperity class, encouraged people to come up with a statement that speaks to who they are and to know that statement and to live according to that statement. But you can't just stop here. I mean, it's very powerful to have this, I believe. But I was taught by other teachers to build on it and to really look at who you are. What is it that you live by? What is it that you base your life on? What is it that you hold as the standards of your life? And so what those are called, for me anyway, are values. So I have a set of values that I have proclaimed are mine. Now I have many more values than the 8 that are on the list I'm about to share with you. But the truth is that they're the top ones. In fact, they're ranked. And a teacher that taught me this taught me how to rank them so that I knew in priority what was most important to me. And I'm going to share that list with you right now. There's 8 of them. These are the values I live by: clarity, love, integrity, enthusiasm, vibrant health, prosperity, peace, and gratitude. Those are my 8. Now, yours would be different. So I'm not suggesting you adopt or adapt your thinking to this. Don't do that. But there's great value in just exploring yourself, your thinking, to see what are the most important things for you in your life. And so these are my 8. And although you can read those words, chances are that many of you would have a very different definition of what these concepts mean than I do. So you can't stop by just making a list of words and saying, this is it. The next step to this is to actually define what these mean. And the way I was taught to do this was to create a statement with each word. It doesn't have to be long. In fact, if it's long, it gets watered down. You want it to be succinct, and then you want to say how it happens in your life. Because there's this interesting thing I learned about values. We don't want to have values that are hard for us to achieve. We want to have values that come to us very easily, very naturally, so that we can know that we're living according to our values very easily. And the way we do this is by having the succinct statement of each one and then explain when that shows up in your life, how that shows up in your life. And I'll show you exactly what I mean here in a second. So we start with clarity. I live my life with clear intention according to my purpose. And I follow that statement with these qualifiers: by being fully present in the now moment, by being aware of the perfection of my life and all life, by supporting the spiritual awakening of others as much as my own, and by taking complete responsibility for the circumstances of my life. That's what I do to be clear. That's how I am clear in my life. And revisiting this has awakened me to this again and made me excited about sharing it with you. So that's the first one. Clarity is first because I believe that being clear about who we are trumps everything. It's the most important thing to know for me. But of course, the next one on my list is the one that should be on everybody's list. I don't know that I've ever seen a list that didn't have this on it, and it's love. I stay constantly aware of love. Now, I stay constantly aware of love needs to be explained because I don't believe that we give and take love. So many of you have heard this from me time and time again. I don't believe that love is a commodity that can be shared or distributed. I believe that love is a constant, that the presence of the divine is love. There's no difference. So love is always where we are. The problem is we forget. And our job is to be aware of that love. And when we are, we get all the benefits of it. We get all the feelings, we get all the joy and the sense of fullness that comes with it. We look into the eyes of our beloved and we feel it. We know it's real. But it's not something that we get to withhold. It isn't. It's something that is natural. So we're either aware of it or we're not. My statements are, I stay constantly aware of love by knowing that I am one and that I am one with all that is, by acknowledging divine presence in every person I meet and know, by experiencing the beauty of life that surrounds me, and by keeping my heart open. So when I do those things, I'm aware of love. And joyously, I'm aware of love more than I'm not. So apparently it's working. The third one on the list is integrity. I live my life in integrity. Well, what does that mean, to be in integrity? Many people have different ideas on this. Some people think that they are the integrity police and they should be pointing out to other people how they are out of integrity. But I think that's a mistake because the whole idea of integrity comes from the alliance of three things: what we think, what we say, and what we do. And nobody can know what we think beyond what we say. So it's no one's business to understand how we are in integrity or not, except us. But it's important for me in my life to have those three things in balance. So my statement is, I live my life in integrity by making certain that my thoughts, words, and actions are in alignment with my purpose and my values. Okay. So that gives me some parameters to work from. That means that if I say something that is judgmental or mean or spiteful, I'm completely out of alignment with my purpose, and it does not serve me. And that has proven true for me through all the stages of my life. When I'm not doing this stuff, my life is not as pretty as it can be. And when I do, my life looks pretty good. The next one on my list is enthusiasm. When I teach people about emotional energy, I explain that enthusiasm is really one of the highest energies, emotional energies you can hold with any consistency. There are emotional states higher than that, but they're exhausting if you try to keep them going all the time. But enthusiasm really works for me. So I like being enthusiastic. And I live my life enthusiastically by staying open to the many possibilities of my life, by having a joyous heart, and by seeking to expand and deepen my experience of being in the world. That allows me to be enthusiastic about life, and it really does work for me. The fifth one is vibrant health. This is one that I haven't always been that good at, but I think I'm doing okay right now. I maintain a vibrantly healthy lifestyle by eating and drinking foods that nourish my body, by exercising and strengthening my body, by resting and reinvigorating my body, and by appreciating my body for the magnificent organism that it is. Now, I don't have a more magnificent organism here than any of you do, so is nothing exceptional in that regard. It's just recognizing I get to play in this physical world because I've got a body, and it's really smart to take care of it as best I can. And stay away from sugar as much as I can. It's getting better. It's getting better. So that's vibrant health. Next one is prosperity. We teach a lot of prosperity around here, so my task is to live prosperously. And I do that by acknowledging my abundant flow through the practice of tithing. I have found tithing is an amazing way to remain prosperous. By keeping all of my financial agreements, which I've really done well. I have an excellent, what's that called? Credit rating. Yeah, I do. Credit. I'm good there. Let's see, by devoting a portion of my income to savings and investments. I've gotten pretty good at that too. And by constantly experiencing the abundance of life that is all around me. And it's true. If you ever think that life isn't prosperous, look at nature. Oh my goodness. Rick and I spent a couple of hours out there yesterday clearing all those black walnuts off the driveway so you wouldn't step on them. And they are so abundant out there. And if we had the time and energy, could open them up and actually eat the fruit in them, eat the nut in them. It's quite amazing. Life is so prosperous and so abundant, and for us to not be is unnatural. So these are the things I do to live prosperously. Peace. Peace is important to me. Some people are really just fine being aggravated and provoked and angry and spitting fire. I don't find any value in that for me. I'm sure I've done it. I've done all of it. I've raged like any fool would. But it never comes out well. It never makes me feel better. It never makes my life more meaningful. So I want to be at peace. And I want to be around people that want to be at peace. So I live in peace. By remembering the divine presence is active in every relationship, every situation, and every circumstance of my life. And when I know that the divine, that this creative power of the universe, beyond the universe, dwells at the point of me, it's really easy to be peaceful. It's like they teach martial artists when they get really good at their craft and they could take anyone down with a simple movement. They don't. They don't need to. The same thing is true with peace. When we are clear about who we are, we do live peacefully. There's no reason to be otherwise. So I live in peace. And the final one is gratitude. I express gratitude for all the blessings of my life. And the things I write about that is that I do this by acknowledging the many blessings I experience every day, and I do. By recognizing the value of every aspect of my life and by living my life to the fullest. So that's where I have my gratitude, is in just looking at all the good in my life, all the blessings. And trust me, I give thanks for you guys all the time because this center is so powerful in my life. And the work that I do is so meaningful. And the idea that we are touching lives around the world, that people are seeking to know these things, and they reach to us for that, fills my soul. I'm very grateful. So those are my 8 values. And there's one other thing that I learned along the way that really made a big difference in how I see myself in the world. There was a point in time where I was at a Tony Robbins event, and he gave us a task to come up with a statement. And he gave us a formula. And the formula had some blanks in it. And he said, fill in the blanks. And then he put us into quadrants, into groups of 4. And there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people there. But I got in my little group of 4. And when it came my time, I spoke what I now call my pivot statement, because it gave me an opportunity to say how I was and how I am. And I remember I barely got through that. And then I had to excuse myself from my group. And it was so far back, there weren't even cell phones. I went to a payphone, and I called my wife. And I sobbed because this was real for me. And I will share that statement with you now. I no longer indulge in the debilitating act of self-judgment, which in the past I used to deny the absolute perfection of my life. Instead, I accept and embrace the beauty and magnificence of my life as it is right now. I found it. I needed these things. I needed to think them. I needed to feel them. They're my creation. And they make me feel whole. And they remind me of how to be on my path. Because it's my full intention to awaken to the spiritual magnificence of my life and all life. And whatever of this touches your heart, spend a little time thinking about it, maybe even writing about it. See if there isn't something in you that will reflect back from words that you claim as yours. And by reviewing them on a regular basis, you'll find more days that you are moving in the direction that you want to than the direction that you don't. This work we do takes some energy. It takes some effort. But I believe it's totally worth it. And I hope there's something in here that touches your heart and makes your day a little brighter. I love you very much. Thank you.